Hey, Ross.
Hey, Dean.
Okay, Ross. So let's jump in. Let's have a hypothetical 1 year engagement, brand new client engagement. Today's day one. You're the fractional CMO who's been brought in, boots on the ground, so to speak, even if it's virtual. Um, Tell everyone who you are and then what a fractional CMO is and what happens in the first 90 days from your perspective.
So I'm Ross. I'm a fractional CMO. My background's in marketing agencies, startups, small businesses, private equity, diverse business experience,
Mhm.
diverse marketing experience. A fractional CMO is a marketing professional with experience and expertise in growing certain types of businesses that they also make leadership and strategy decisions for organizations' marketing department. And on day one, I love this quote. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. So my goals are to meet the team, to establish rapport and build a relationship with them so they know that I'm not just some person who's going to shout out, do this, do that without getting, them being seen and heard. So step one is form relationships. Step two is learn everything I can about the organization, the tribal knowledge, the nuance, the competitive landscape. And then step three is to have a quick path to action through quick start marketing campaigns and making sure that I go through my housekeeping checklist, making sure that all things are onboarded and ready to get rolling. And then my final step in my first 90 days is to roll out or integrate what I often use is EOS management system.
Mhm.
So we set our quarterly rocks and our scorecard and our priorities, and everyone gets on the same page on how to expect me to engage with them.
All right. Your answers were like very clear, very like crisp. I like it. It's kind of great. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Dean. How are you?
Good, thank you. Okay, so Elizabeth, tell people a little bit about you and what does the first 90 days look like from yours or a fractional CMO's perspective?
Yeah. So I'm Liz. I am a fractional CMO, works with startups in the B2B space. My background is in growing startups from zero to something, lots of different numbers on the other side of that. Yeah, and I think the first 90 days are incredibly important around
Mhm.
um, getting to know everybody and understanding how they work and where the strengths and weaknesses are on the team. So I think that's crucial. But I operate in a very um, tight system in terms of an agile marketing system. So we try and get into our 2 week sprints as quickly as possible, and
Right.
then have that quarterly plan set up in the first 30 days. And yeah, I also love a good fast cash campaign where some places that we can take some action quickly and get some dollars in the door and show everybody that the structure is going to work.
Okay, so Liz, let's imagine that I'm the CEO at your new client company, okay? And I probably had to convince someone like a board or like budget committee or the other half of my brain to go ahead and allocate the spend for a year of fractional CMO. And it's probably the first fractional CMO or CMO we've ever had. Okay. So clearly I'm interested in getting, not, not being embarrassed by this decision. So like, how do I get maximum value out of this fractional CMO that I've hired and I'm going to have around for the next year?
Yeah, I think the first one, this sounds cheesy when I say it, but it's communication. So
Mhm.
the key there is communication and then trusting the process a little bit. So most of the time, the engagements that I come into, we come up with a plan, and about halfway through the plan, there's a lot of it's not happening fast enough, right? So, so as a CEO, I would say communicate any feelings you're having so that we can work on them together. But then also trust that marketing takes a little bit more time than
Right.
maybe some of your other departments. Um, but yeah, I think just tell me how you're feeling. Let's talk about it. Don't be too in your own head. I think my favorite CEOs are the ones where we can talk about when they're worried or what they're concerned about before it's an actual problem.
And Ross, let me invert that question a little bit. Okay. Because, you've had multiple clients over the years. So how do companies that hire fractional CMOs waste the money? What do they do that they should stop doing so that the fractionals, or how do they, what should they stop doing that they're currently doing that sort of like, minimizes their fractional CMO's effectiveness or sort of mutes their strengths? How do they waste the money that they spend on their fractional CMO?
The number one way that companies waste money on their fractional CMOs, in my experience, is having unshared, which become unknown, which become toxic assumptions of what a fractional CMO should do, versus having a collaborative conversation and agreeing on what activities and outcomes a fractional CMO actually can and will do for your organization. So in my experience, when clients have felt like the investment was either something that needed to be justified on an ongoing basis, they wanted me to be writing press releases or writing blog posts or writing, Facebook posts, as opposed to coming up with messaging and targeting and optimizing channel performance and bringing in the right vendors and team members to do the right things and managing budget and overall revenue and how the marketing ties into overall revenue. So the easiest way to lose money is to have miscommunication on expectations. And the second thing I would say that owners make as a mistake is they don't communicate in a set cadence. They don't call out the fractional CMO when they have questions. They kind of internalize it and it festers. And there may be some hesitancy to collaborate in terms of learning from the fractional CMO and using him as like a knowledge resource and also sharing tribal knowledge. So by looking at results from a quarterly and monthly basis, you're much more likely to be satisfied with your engagement than if you look at the micro on day by day and week to week, how much hours or time was spent or things done, right? Versus progress driven forward.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about, I'm still the CEO of this fictional company, okay? And I have some people already working in marketing, like junior, mid-level folks, right? May have been management along the way, but probably no like C-level leadership for marketing yet. You're the first. And so I'm looking at this team as they are right now on day one of your engagement, and I'm thinking about what that team's going to look like, how they're going to be different for better, hopefully not for worse, but for how they're going to be different at the end of the 12 months. What's going to be the impact of having a fractional CMO hanging around for a year on that team as a team?
I think that's you, Ross.
Yeah, Ross.
That one's for me. So the impact of having a fractional CMO join your team that already exists is typically a fractional CMO serves two functions that they make you more money and they save you more time. So leadership plus management equals accountability. Takes a lot of time. I'm going to be taking that off of either someone's plate that doesn't have the time and resources or no one. So it's deferred maintenance on management. Another benefit to adding a fractional CMO in an existing team is oftentimes marketing staff, brand side in-house, gets very effective at knowing the checklist that their CEO who doesn't do marketing wants and expects them to do. It just so happens sometimes that checklist isn't the right things, or they're not really driving results that have to do. So they're very busy, but they're not very productive. So by bringing in a fractional CMO, I make sure that marketing teams resources, both with labor and with ad spend and with all but time management and cost are used strategically for a purpose. And I put the right people in the right seats. Sometimes you may have a great culture fit, great employee. Maybe they need a promotion. Maybe they need to be in management versus just, doing copywriting or doing ads. So I make the most out of the team and I save the CEO time.
Yeah. And Liz, what do you think? How's the team going to be different a year from now?
Yeah, I think one of the things I've found with my clients is that person is usually doing all of the things marketing. So most of them are, some are amazing because they're probably good. That's in their skill set.
Mhm.
They're strong, their strengths. Some of them not so good. And those are usually in conflict with that list that Ross was talking about like what needs to be done for the CEO. But I think what I have seen with teams is really as like a servant leader, I come to help them, right? So they usually have really amazing ideas. They can usually see what we should be doing to get that success and build that strategy. But they're not able to kind of communicate with the CEO about how we should go about it in a holistic way. So, what I like to do is give the team a map that we can all rally around. That's the strategy. CEO is one of those people on the
Mhm.
team, as opposed to the dictator or somebody who's telling them what to do all the time. And so we have a map and we can all move along that map together. So I think the teams that I've come into, it's been positive. It's been kind of like, oh, we have somebody at the table who understands what I'm doing and is able to communicate with the CEO about why we're doing it and defend us sometimes when it might not be as easy for the CEO to see the progress that they're making.
Right. Okay. So, Liz, there's going to be a Zoom call at 4:45 p.m. today on day one of your new engagement. And that Zoom call is the first ever one-to-one with the 23-year-old Dean Way, who is he just a few months ago, he started at this company. It's his first ever marketing job. It's his first ever full-time job out of college, right? He's the most junior person and the most junior marketer in this company. And I had to Google it because I'm so new to marketing that I didn't even realize such a thing existed. What a fractional CMO is, and it's the end of the day, and I'm finally getting my 15 minutes. Like, what instructions or advice, right, or warnings are you going to give 23-year-old Dean about, like, what the next year or even their whole career should look like, since
Yeah.
they're going to have someone like you with your experience around for the next 12 months?
Yeah. I probably wouldn't give too much advice in the first 15 minutes. And
Mm.
what I would hope to do is listen and just learn about him and what he's worried about, what his concerns are. The overarching goal would be to kind of demonstrate. My hope would be that, like, as a leader, it never works if you don't know the people that you're leading
Mhm.
and you don't know what drives them and motivates them. So those first calls for me are exciting because I love meeting new people. I love getting to understand what makes them happy, what they're excited about. So for the goal for me in that 15 minutes is really just establishing trust and really getting comfortable so that we can go through the next 6 months, a year, growing together and understanding how to leverage what they know and what they don't know, and then helping them understand what they need to know.
And what are you going to answer when I ask for, like, so what do you have any
Mm.
advice for me as we start this next year?
Yep, I mentor quite a few young people in their
Mhm.
career through some work that I do, and it's listen. You need, if you're ever thinking about talking, you should probably listen more and then ask questions. So I would always rather have you ask me what you consider a dumb question than try and go too far down the path and then come back defeated. Like, I will always take time to answer questions. So those are all mistakes I've made. So I would tell them that too.
All
To
right.
ask questions, listen more.
Right. And Ross, what would you tell that junior marketer?
If I had 15 minutes at the end of the day and I just met this person for the first time,
Mhm.
I would spend 90 seconds going over what my role is in their day to day, in their job, and that would be something along the lines of, I'm here to help you understand the why behind what you do. I'm here to help you figure out how your work ties into the business results, and I'm here to help you know what to focus on. Then I would ask some questions as opposed to what they like, what they don't like. I
Mhm.
would ask them, what did you go to school for, or what did you want to be when you grow up? We want to figure out what their, as quickly as possible, their ambition or career trajectory looked like. I would let them know that, I'm feeling successful working with you, Mr. 23-year-old Dean. If at the end of the day, at the end of this year, you grew so much and gained so much experience and skills that any company would want to hire you to do what it is you want to do, but you still want to choose to work at this company we're at.
All right. So we're going to wind down, but there's 2 more questions that I want to go through. So, Ross, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask Liz a question, whatever question you want to ask. So here's my question to you before your question to Liz. Why do this job? I mean, there's easier ways to make money, man. Why? Why be a fractional CMO? That's my answer. That's my question.
Cool.
Why?
When asked why become a fractional CMO, the number one driving theme throughout my experience in working has been my desire to help small business owners achieve financial freedom.
Mm-hmm.
When I very first started, before I got even paid, when I was just building free websites to rank for portfolio, was to help friends and family, small businesses that were in trouble to get back on a profitable path. I think I every time I've strayed off of that mission in my career, I've felt this uneasy anxiety. Now that I'm in fractional CMO, I don't lose sleep. I don't have any anxiety throughout the day if I'm doing a noble thing, because I'm in line with what my mission is,
Mm-hmm.
which is to help small business owners achieve financial freedom. And what keeps me doing it and not seeking other employment is that I have relationships since when I very first started as fractional CMO that I'm still engaged with. And I think that relationships without results put a strain on your relationship, and results without relationships put a strain on your own mental health. Who wants to work for someone that doesn't appreciate you?
Right.
So fractional CMO puts me in a unique position where I can get meaningful results and build meaningful relationships with business owners that I actually like and respect and appreciate.
Yeah. And as one fractional CMO to another, what would you ask Liz? I think this is your first time ever meeting, right? So
Yeah.
So what would you ask Liz?
Liz, what did you want to be when you grew up?
That's a good one. So many things. I feel like I had 2-year stints. So it's I wanted to be a stockbroker until for a long time, actually. That was more than 2 years. But then I also wanted to be an interior designer. Um, I wanted to be a lawyer for a long time. All of these things, when I went to college, my first year of college, I took a class in kind of each of these areas. And I failed a couple of them. So those were off the list. Interior design, apparently. I'm not a designer. And then, but there were the business classes and my legal classes. I crushed those, but I'm not a lawyer because that's a super boring job that doesn't make me happy. But yeah, I think it's such a good question, Ross, because I have a 10-year-old, and I can't imagine him answering the question with something that's going to be an option right now. So it's just exciting. If I ask him what he wants to be, there's going to be something so much cooler than he can imagine. So.
And Liz, why do this job?
Yeah.
And what's your question for Ross?
Yeah. So I started doing fractional CMO work because I was working with startups, and they needed this format. So I really believe that for early stage 0 to 1 to 10 million companies, this is a better setup. We don't need to be a CMO is not needed at that stage,
right?
But a fractional leader is. And so I really think that I also think the CEOs of the companies that I love to work with, which are in that phase, are dealing with a lot, not only in their business, but kind of personally. And you need to have a leader that's at your level that understands kind of what's going to happen next, that can help you navigate lots of different things. And I think this role allows me to come in and do that without having to be there and basically waste time when there can be other subject matter experts making decisions in those areas. So
and
my first
CMO to
startup,
CMO, what would be your question for Ross?
Oh yeah, Ross. I liked your question. Can I ask what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Sure. I'm still trying to answer that question, but I know I went to college to become a teacher, and then the teacher was just a way to become a wrestling coach. So I was a athlete, and I benefited most of my development years from my coaches. So I am now a wrestling coach part time, and I look at what I do as a fractional CMO as somewhat of the same thing, where I'm helping businesses defend themselves and be lean and profitable. And I'm acting in some ways as a coach. So I've always wanted to be a wrestling coach, and I guess I have the dream job.
I love that.
Right on. All right. So thanks so much, Ross, for being here today. And thanks, Liz, for being here today.
Thank you, Dean.
Thanks for having us, Dean.
This is the first episode of season 4. So it's episode 76. Wow. Episode 76. Crazy. And thanks for watching, everyone. You're probably watching this in a clip. So if you do see this in a clip, thanks for being here. There's lots more. So feel free to poke around. There's a ton of these.